What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. Today we are watching Shutter Island. This is another movie that has been on my list for a very long time because I have heard some great things about it. Now, I don't know shit about it. I know Leonardo DiCaprio is in it, and he's one of my favorite actors. I'm pretty sure he's like everybody's one of favorite actors because he's S tier. You know what I mean? He is one of the best. He is unbelievably amazing. I know he's in this movie. I don't know any other actor who's in this movie. I think it has something to do with a prison. I'm not 100% certain on that. I haven't seen any like promotional images for this movie. It's been out for a while. I think this came out in 2010, so it's been out for over a decade at this point. But I haven't actually heard what it's about. I don't know the story. I don't even know the genre. I'm gonna guess. I think it's like a kind of like a psychological thriller. I think that's what it is, or what I've heard about it. I don't know that for certain, so don't take my word for it, but from what I remember people saying, I think that's what it is. I'm gonna guess Leo is our main character. He's our protagonist, because I mean there's no way you get Leo in the movie and he's not one of the main roles. So I'm excited for that. Heard a lot of great things about this movie, so I'm very much looking forward to it. In case you don't know, I do have a Patreon with full-length reactions and early access, so if that interests you, link in the description. But without further ado, let's watch this movie. Alright, yeah. Judging by the music, it's 110% a psychological thriller. I'll bet my balls on it. Mark Ruffalo? Oh, no way! Oh, that's awesome. You guys are dressed like some... This reminds me of LA Noire. Bro, what's with the music, dog? Did he fucking murder her? Like, what is this? Yo.
Boys seem a little on edge, Mr. McPherson.
Yeah, what? Why?
Right now, Marshall, we all are.
What the fuck happened? That everybody's on edge. Did someone escape? Fucking first day on the job, big guy? What's going on? His face. Yo, his face. That was the same face fucking Tony made when Hulk didn't want to come out to play. He's like, bro, you're embarrassing me.
Dude, you're embarrassing me in front of the wizards.
She killed all three of her children.
God
She drowned them
damn.
in the lake behind her house.
Oh my.
She took them out one by one, held their heads under till they died.
Excuse me? Fucking what? Also, yeah, I was gonna say, like, I know they're mentally ill, but, like, at some point, you know what I'm saying? Like, just, you feel me? Also, I'm guessing that this detective has served in the war, because it looks like he had PTSD from hearing about Normandy. Is there a hidden trapdoor somewhere in this bitch? Damn. Homeboy's got a good eye. Alright.
This is a federal facility and a dangerous prisoner.
Patient.
Patient.
Dog, are we sure this leader of this facility ain't insane? They hiding some stuff, bro.
Feel free to join the deputy warden in the search.
This place feels sus, dude. Feel free to join them in the search as they all just sit on their ass.
Protocol, Christ.
I wasn't gone more than a minute.
Let's back up here. Let's all just back up. Miss
Whoa,
Solano
wait,
was put
wait.
in her room.
Yo, his partner is fucking teleporting around the place. He was just sitting with the other dude and like instantly was behind him. This guy's fucking teleporting.
We're gonna need to speak with Dr. Sheehan.
I'm afraid that won't be possible. He left on the ferry this morning.
The phone number for where he's gone.
Anybody there? I'm sorry, sir, but it's all down, all the lines.
Bro, it feels like so many convenient things are happening to hinder this case. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, we searched the lighthouse. No way she could have gotten on the caves. It's fucking... No way you get out of this room. No way she get past me. Oh, I went to the bathroom. This doctor was doing the thing. Doing the group, not me. Where's the doctor? He left. Oh, fuck. Alright, call him. We can't call him. I'm like, alright, man. Just everything is going against them.
What's that? Iced tea in your glass there?
You have outstanding defense mechanisms. You must be quite adept at interrogations.
Damn. Is that fucking Hitler on the wall there? What the fuck? Yeah, so these are where those like PTSD scenes are popping from. This time in the war.
Your English is sehr gut, fast perfect.
He's
His English
German?
really is Very good. You hit the consonants a tad hard, though.
Yo.
Is legal immigration a crime, Marshal?
Oh, I don't know, Doctor. You tell us.
Shit, dog. This conversation turned intense very quickly.
Is that why you drink?
Are you real?
No.
And there goes the bottle. Dog, are you sure you don't belong in this fucking facility too?
We were so happy. She's here. You can't leave.
I'm gonna take a wild guess and say he's an— oh my fuck! Alright, that took me back mid-sentence, but I was gonna say, I'm gonna take a guess and say he's an unreliable narrator. Because throughout the entire movie so far, there have been so many weird shots that don't match up in terms of editing. Like her looking back, and then the next cut she's staring forward without moving, and then the next cut she's facing him. Like there's a lot of really sharp cuts that don't flow together correctly. And considering he's our protagonist, I'm gonna guess he's an unreliable narrator, which means what we're seeing isn't exactly the truth.
You have to let me go. I can't.
Damn.
Ain't gonna be no fairy in this shit.
Bro, again, with like the convenient stuff happening where whatever he wants to do just quickly becomes unavailable from some outside source, you know what I mean? It feels controlled, man. You know what I mean? Like everything he wants to do immediately gets stopped.
The greatest obstacle to her recovery was her refusal to face what she had done.
Damn.
Was.
That kind of sounds like Teddy. Kind of sounds like Teddy refusing to accept what he's done.
She liked to be naked, to suck cock. She wanted me to pull out my thing so that she could laugh at it.
Fucking what, mate? Bro, how do you trust any answer out of this guy's mouth?
People don't kill their husbands with an axe.
God damn.
Although, personally, I think if a man beats you and fucks half the women he sees, and axing him isn't the least understandable thing you could do.
I'm with you on that. I feel you. Not too bad. Not too bad.
What can you tell us about Rachel?
In the Berkshires, and we were all her neighbors at the milkman post.
Sounds like a story that's been told to them. You know what I mean? Hey yo!
I just have one more question for you.
Hey yo! You're not gonna skip past like you didn't just do that. You're not gonna skip past like you just drank nothing out of your hand and then put an empty glass down. We're not gonna skip by that.
No.
Okay, so he's okay. So yeah, he's an unreliable narrator. Okay, so he's insane. Or something, right? Because he's seeing things. He's seeing things. So I don't know how much of this is true then. Like, is he really a detective? Is Chuck really his partner? Is he really invited here to solve this mystery? To try and find Rachel Solando? Or is he, like, attending this facility?
Andrew Ladis was a maintenance man in the apartment building where my wife and I lived.
Shit.
Andrew Ladis lit the match that caused the fire that killed my wife.
Wow. Although, again, I don't know how much of that I can believe. Because now that we've understand that he is not who he says he is. Or he's not all right up there. So I don't know how much I can trust of what he says. And we were talking about accepting stuff as well. So, like, I feel like Teddy's probably the one who lit the fire. And he's created this fictitious thing in his mind to accept what he's done, you know? Just like Rachel Solando did. Bro, is that the fucking story of this? Like Rachel Solando said the thing about, you know, postmen, mailmen, deliverymen, and all that. And so that's what Teddy has done. He's created this entire story, and everybody who works around him is detectives, police officers, workers, and such, so he can accept the fact that he killed his wife. That's 100% what this is, right?
When she sent me for water, she said something to you back there, didn't she? No. Come on, boss.
How did he know that?
Damn it!
Oh, that looks like an eye. That's cool. Try and give the perspective that you're always being watched.
By conducting experiments on the mind. At least that's my guess.
And you think that's going on here?
Bro, what if, like, Chuck is, like, his psychiatrist or something?
Crazy people, they're the perfect subjects. They talk, nobody listens.
Correct.
I stood a dog.
Marshal, are you out here?
Alright, this entire story is fake. It's the number of one of the patients, right? Or one of the people in the facility.
Because I believe I just heard you say there are...
Yeah, 24 and 42,
patients
and you add them
in
together.
wards. Now, what's the good news, Doctor?
Rachel's been found. She's here.
I feel like you would have started with that. Yeah, the 67th patient is Teddy. Right? That's obviously who it is.
How am I supposed to survive?
You know what's weird too? This happened as well when they were interrogating the other people and stuff. I always feel like they cut everyone else out of the scene for the most part of it. Like, we know they're still standing in the room and he keeps looking over to them, but the camera doesn't show us them. You know what I mean?
My Jim's dead, so who the fuck are you?
What the fuck? Yo.
Who the fuck are you?
Y'all bugging.
Sawed open your head, filled it with razors, and shook it as hard as they could. Take the pills, Marshal.
I don't want
It'll
the
stop
pills.
the pain, Marshal. Take the...
Oh, come on, dog. This is totally just showing he's a fucking psych ward patient. Come on, bro. I feel like that was like... At the end, when everything is revealed, we're gonna find out. Like, that's what that was indicating, you know? That was probably him in, like, his bed or something, throwing a fit, and they were trying to give him the pills so he could calm down. That family seems to be stuck in his head, though, of that woman and the daughter. Is that his wife and kids? I don't know, man. Hard to discern and dissect what's really going on. What it all means. Yep. Oh, the smoke reversed into the cigarette. That was sick.
Here.
What the fuck? Why is there blood on them? She said that she drowned them. And then brought them back to the house, so... If she drowned them, why are they covered in blood? I'm so confused, man. I have no fucking idea what's going on. Interesting choice of shot. How the turntables. Have we crossed over to Crazy Town? Is that what that camera shot was supposed to mean?
They say he'll never leave here.
Why does this guy's voice keep changing?
So you can lie to me more?
Why does the audio keep changing?
This isn't about it.
Who did this to you, George?
You did.
Tell him, Teddy. Tell him why.
Bro, that camera angle switch makes it seem like he's the one behind bars. I love these huge, monumentous shots they've been doing. Looks really dope. Provides like such a sense of scale, but also providing such a feeling of isolation. Also, that police officer said that there's no way to get into those caves because it's covered in poison ivy and stuff. So, the fuck?
Would you mind taking a hand from behind your back, please?
Yikes.
It's fine by me.
What? I want to make sure what's behind your back won't hurt me. She pulls out a knife and he goes, yeah, that's fine. Huh?
I was never married.
What the fuck?
And before I was a patient at Ashcliff, I worked here.
What the fuck is happening?
You think I'm crazy?
No, I don't actually.
No, I know.
And if I say I'm not crazy, that hardly helps, does it?
Yeah, that doesn't really do anything.
Anything you do is called part of that insanity. Reasonable protests or denial. Valid fears. Paranoia.
Very true.
Can't let you leave.
I am a federal marshal. They can't stop me.
This is all true. This is fucking crazy. That's what keeps
Because
you
I
here.
can point to some event in your past and say it's the reason you lost your sanity.
Oh, that's what I said. I said that. Yikes. She pointed me out. Is it weird that this scene reminds me of Plato's Allegory of the Cave? I'll explain that further in the outro, but it's what it reminds me of currently.
Knows about this. On the island, I mean, who?
Everyone.
Oh, come on, man. The nurses? The orderlies?
Oh. Some good-ass actors to cover their tracks and not feel any fucking regret. God damn.
I had a friend. I was with him yesterday, but we got separated. Have you seen him?
You didn't have a friend.
Marshall, you have no friends.
Of course. But does she mean you have no friends as in Chuck didn't exist, or you have no friends as in Chuck works for Shutter Island and he's been playing you the whole time kind of thing? Why do they always know where he is immediately?
Wondering when you'd show up. Free in my living room, it reached out for me.
The divine hand.
Religious ignorance is bliss.
God loves violence.
That he does. What the fuck, man? These are some evil-ass people. And some interesting, I mean, moral debates, and perhaps even theological debates.
We've gotten all we came here for, so...
We, Marshal?
My partner, Chuck.
You don't have a partner, Marshal. You came here alone.
See, but that's what they're saying, but, like, I don't know if that's true, because Chuck spoke to other people, and people talked to Chuck. You know what I mean? So, like, unless that relies on the unreliable narrator part, you know what I mean? But, I don't know. Dolores, stop haunting this man. Time to let you go.
There's one fucking ugly tie.
Nice. Damn, bro, my dude's strong as fuck. You see how fast he went up that wall? that was pretty good.
Why are you all wet, baby?
What the fuck?
Have Dr. Sheehan take a look at your man before you send him off.
I thought Dr. Sheehan was on vacation.
I found a doctor in a cave.
Oh no, is she also a hallucination?
You'll never get to her.
Yeah, makes sense.
Your delusions are more severe than I thought.
Yikes.
Not on neuroleptics.
Yikes.
You're not on anything, as a matter of fact.
You're just fucking insane, man.
We've been giving you for the past 24 months.
Yikes. Yeah, so he was a patient here.
Slipping me drugs in Boston, is that it?
Yeah, you haven't left this island, dog.
Here.
Yeah.
Notice anything these four names have in common?
Oh wow, they're all anagrams?
So, 4. Andrew, what do you see?
No way! That's fucking cool as shit. No way. Wow, that's awesome.
Your name is Andrew Ladis.
Yeah.
67th patient at Ashcliffe. He's you, Andrew.
Yep. Yeah, yep. And he's the one who killed his wife. Yeah.
Because he called you Ladis. And you do anything not to be him.
Wow.
It's about you and Ladis. That's all it's ever been about.
Haha, you placed the comma in a different place.
Permanent measures will be taken to ensure you can't hurt anyone ever again.
Yeah, fair. Fair.
They'll lobotomize you, Andrew.
Fair.
Do you understand?
Fair. Yep, there he is.
Hello, boss.
But he's gonna be like the psychiatrist or something, right?
What the fuck is going on?
Fair enough. That's a fair question.
I mean, watch me, huh?
That's betrayal.
I've been your primary psychiatrist.
Oh, okay, that's what I said too. Yeah, it's also what I said. Okay, yeah.
I'm Lester Sheehan.
That's Dr. Sheehan? Oh, fuck. No way. I didn't know that was going to be his name.
Radical, cutting-edge role play ever attempted in psychiatry, and it would bring you back. I thought
wow.
If you tell me, where are the Nazi experiments?
Damn.
The satanic ORs.
Damn, fair. Mark Ruffalo as the psychiatrist is such a good choice. He has such a soft-spoken voice.
Double!
Andrew!
No! My name is Edward Daniels!
My man's gonna kill himself. Wait, what?
Andrew, please don't.
What the fuck just happened? Was that in his mind? What the fuck? Oh, thank God. That was fucking weird. That was crazy.
Set your city apartment on fire.
Wow.
Then you were Andrew,
Oh, wow. The 3 children were his children. Jesus Christ. Wow. Those were his children. That's fucking sad. Those were his kids. And his wife was suicidal, but why would she kill her children too? Dear God. So he drank to try and ignore the problems of her, and then she fucking murdered his kids? And then I imagine he probably killed her after finding out that his wife killed his children. He probably killed her, right? Jesus Christ.
My God.
That's so heartbreaking, man. Can you imagine coming home and your wife killed your fucking children? That's unreal.
No, please, God.
Jesus Christ. What a scene. Like, so haunting. It still doesn't explain why Rachel, in his hallucinations, was covered in blood. Because like I said before, she drowned them. So, like, he murders her right now, right? That's definitely what happens. Oh, the audacity to fucking touch him, dude.
They'll be our living dolls. Huh?
If you ever love me, Dolores, please stop talking.
Yeah, for real, murder her. No, murder her, do it, please. I beg you. Murder her, murder her, murder her. I'm okay with this.
Set me free.
Damn, did she want this? God, that is psychotic. Oh, she keeps talking so that he does kill her. Jesus Christ. Yep. Jesus Christ. And that explains the blood.
Andrew, can you hear me?
Oh, and this is that scene that I was talking about before, I guess. Or at least what it reminded me of.
Rachel Lattis, my daughter.
Oh, he remembered. I guess that memory was super repressed. Bro. The therapy fucking worked. The ultimate roleplay fucking worked. It broke him out of it. That's insane. Wow. Nice.
We need to hear you say it.
Go psychiatry.
She told me that, but I didn't listen. I loved her so much.
That was just like what the doctor said at the beginning of the movie. When he was like, how do you help these insane people? And he's like, if you just respect them and listen to them, you might actually get through to them.
I killed them because I didn't get her help. You know?
Wow.
And I murdered my wife in the spring of 52.
Bro, Leo's acting this entire, like, final piece has been unreal. Like, genuinely. So good. I can't even blame him for killing his wife, though, dog. I really can't. She kind of not only begged for it, but she murdered his fucking children.
Gotta get off this rock, Chuck. Get back to the mainland. Whatever the hell's going on here, it's bad. Which would be worse? To live as a monster? Or to die as a good man?
What a line. Damn, he knows it's coming. Did he do that on purpose? Specifically so they would kill him? Is that why he said that? Oh my fuck, it totally is. Wow, he knows. He really is too smart for his own good. Wow. That's so somber. It's the lighthouse where they have the, like, electric chair. Is that why you saw it as, like, the most evil place? Oh, don't end on it. You're not gonna show them killing him? What the fuck, movie? Oh my, it's directed by Martin Scorsese. Of fucking course it is. Oh, I was literally thinking to myself, I was like, who directed this movie? Of fucking course it's Martin Scorsese. Oh, that makes sense. There's so much to talk about. So much to not only dissect, but to swallow. You know what I mean? That was such a... That movie took a toll. I mean, fuck me. I mean, man, like... Where to start? Where to begin? Alright, well, Leo was amazing. And I mean, of course he was. It's Leonardo DiCaprio. Come on. He's always going to be amazing. When is he not going to be amazing? And I think he really sold the ending. Like, he really sold that. And, like, in all of the versions of the story. In the version where he believed that he was Teddy and he was still the U.S. Marshal here on a case. And him going from there to, like walking the line of understanding that he's fucking insane, but also like being on the insanity side. Like, he was just towing the line right there, you know what I mean? He was walking across that bridge and he was just teeter-tottering on both sides, and he portrayed that so well. And then the flashback of finding his children face down in the lake, I mean, just like, because of course, like, you wouldn't, at that point, it was portrayed so beautifully because you could feel the pain in his voice and in his face, but like, you wouldn't immediately break down crying. Your first instinct as a parent, I imagine, would be to go and try and save them. So like, he didn't stop and start crying. He immediately ran into the water. He tried to give mouth to mouth to his daughter to resuscitate her, brought them all out of the lake and stuff. Like, his first instinct was to try and save them. And like, that part felt so accurate because it wasn't just immediate breakdown. It was like pain, sorrow, confusion, and then immediately forget about my needs. Let me go focus on my children. So that part felt so real, and he just sold it so beautifully. And then after, like, because you've seen it too, if you've ever, like, I mean, at least in movies, but in real life too, you know, when a parent loses a child, it's unbelievably sad, but it's like, they don't stop caring for the child just because they're dead. Like even when they're in the funeral and stuff, like you can see they'll be touching up the clothes on the body, they might move the hand or something. Like it's because like that's still their kid, you know what I mean? And so him laying them all down nicely, putting their hands like this, even kissing his daughter's forehead, like it felt so real. It genuinely felt like if someone were to go through with this is kind of what it would be like. And I feel like that's how real this story is, like in so many senses of the word, not only in its interpretation of what perhaps insanity feels like, but a lot of the dialogue about it. Like his entire conversation with the real Rachel that he found in the cave. I'll discuss the Plato's Allegory of the Cave after, but like his entire conversation there, like it felt so real as to what people think of now. And like her discussion of insanity, like once someone labels you crazy, literally everything you say gets taken as insanity. And even when she said like that part is 100% true, like even if they're reasonable claims of defense or, you know, reasonable responses, everything is dissected as certain things. You know, when he was talking to the doctor and he was like beautiful defense mechanisms, and it was like you don't have to dissect it per se, you know, like not everything is about my insanity. Some things are just normal, let's say, but it really is true. Like when you label someone, it's like when someone believes you've done something, everything you say just confirms what they already thought. It's basically looking at a lens through bias, you know what I mean? Like it's forming a conclusion and then staring at something and only using the evidence that supports that conclusion instead of looking at everything from an objective perspective and not being, you know, swayed either way. But yeah, why I said it reminded me of Plato's Allegory of the Cave, that specific scene. I mean, them being in the cave was a big part of it too, but it was also the fire aspect as well, and you could see their shadows on the wall, and it just reminded me of Plato's Allegory. I'm not like, okay, I kind of know why, but like for those who don't know, Plato's Allegory of the Cave is that there's like take a bunch of people and they're sitting in the cave and they are in utter and complete darkness and they have no idea what they look like. They don't know anything around them. Everything is just complete darkness. And, you know, eventually a fire lights and there's shadows on the wall, and they take those shadows as reality because they have never experienced reality. You know what I mean? So they have no idea what is going on. And so they view those shadows as real things. And then eventually, let's say one person finally makes it out of the cave, right? They make it out, they're staring at the sun, they see trees, they see grass, they see water for the first time. And now imagine that person going back in the cave and trying to convince those other people about the outside world. And those people wouldn't believe a single word being said. They would take everything you say for utter nonsense because that's not what reality is to them, because the only reality they know is inside that cave with the fire and the shadows on the wall being what is real comparatively to what is on the outside. And so what that kind of symbolizes is kind of an ignorance, I suppose, of being inside that cave and accepting reality for what it is. And then once you step out of that cave, you finally stepped away from the ignorance. You finally not understand, but you accept reality in that specific sense, whatever you're talking about. And so once you've found out the truth and accepted reality, you can't go back in the cave. Like you can't go back to being ignorant. You can act in the cave, but you can never truly be shackled in that cave again with the shadows on the wall because you've already experienced the real objective truth. And so it reminded me of that because of the shadows on the wall and stuff, but because also of the tone of that specific conversation, what they were talking about, him and the real Rachel, even though Rachel didn't exist, but there were two different versions, the real one per se in that cave, what they were talking about too, about this. Because like at that moment, you as well as the viewer are guessing whether or not he's completely insane or if what he's saying is true, and everybody is playing against him. You too are questioning this at that moment, and she's helping us, you know, she's giving us validity to our claims. She's making us feel secure in what we think, and we're like, yeah, maybe everybody is against us. That's why she was like, you didn't take the cigarettes, did you? And the food and everything. And it's like, oh my God, they're drugging you. Of course they are. And like, these are, you know, these are notions that we have about real life, about real mental institutions, about thinking that the psychiatrists and the workers there, the doctors, that they're just hopping them up on pills and drugs and they have no interest in taking care of them and just purely want to keep them docile and forget everything they need to say. They don't care about them as a human anymore. They're just simply keeping them alive. They're a vegetable pretty much. They've lost everything of their humanity. And a lot of us have that fear about those places. And, you know, at that point when he's talking to her, it's like we're finally realizing the truth of it. per se, again, from our perspective, we thought that was the truth. So it was like the ignorance of being shackled in the cave was finally shedding, and he was stepping into the sunlight of realizing the objective truth of what was going on, of him being, you know, everybody going against him, nobody leaving the island. And with how the movie was playing up until that point, you know, with everything being so contrived, not being able to leave, the ferry never coming, the doctor being away, you know, all these different things happening, you're like, this sounds kind of real. You know what I mean? It sounds true. But again, it's because we had the unreliable narrator. We were looking at it through Andrew's eyes. I was going to say Teddy, but that's not his name. We were looking at it through Andrew's eyes. You know what I mean? And he is an unreliable narrator because we were looking through it through a biased perspective. His perspective wasn't what objective reality was. And then at the very end, we finally got to see the objective reality. But that really is, like, Plato's Allegory of the Cave is kind of what this entire movie was the whole movie was him shackled in ignorance, and us as a viewer was going along with him. And when you're shackled in that ignorance and just looking at the shadows on the wall, you see how not only contrived per se, but how many contradictions there are, how many things that don't make sense when you're looking at the shadow on the wall. Because again, like, say a shadow on the wall, you can make shadow puppets. So a person looking at the wall is seeing a dog or a rabbit or something scary, and to them that's as real as it gets, but it's just my hand doing shadow puppets and shit, you know what I mean? And so that's what, it's so real to them, even though it's not real at all. That's it's not really what it is. Or even for the say, let's say, you know, they're in there and they don't believe anything the people who have seen the outside world, right? They don't believe anything they say, and that was happening with him as well. So Andrew's character was trapped and shackled inside that cave, only ever viewing shadows on the wall, and then eventually at the end, he stepped into the light. You know what I mean? He finally got to see what the objective truth of life was, and once he sees the objective truth, he can't go back in it. Right now he sees it, now he gets it, he's not going to go back into the ignorance. Again, he can act, right? And that's what happened. Like they said, 9 months earlier they broke through, but he regressed. He can act that certain way, but it doesn't mean that is the certain way, right? The subjective truth of him is not the objective truth of what truly happened. And I think it's a really good, like, showing of what, I mean, not even insanity per se. I don't want to say mental illness because that seems so overplayed at this point, and just even saying that is so saturated, it means nothing. You need to be more specific about that. But I think it's a really good showing of what insanity might feel like, or not even insanity, but like, in truth, it was his defense mechanism for guilt. You know what I mean? He couldn't handle what happened, and it broke him. And it's so understanding because I feel like we might all do that. I feel like we can all see how he got to that point, and you might be like, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, and say that what he did was unwarranted, unjustified, or uncalled for. It was completely understandable, and I'm empathetic to that. And not even empathetic, I understand it to a point. I mean, if that happened to me, I can't say that I wouldn't act in the same way. I mean, to go home and see your wife having murdered your children. I mean, speaking from most people who have had children now, you know, I mean, that clip of Ryan Reynolds talking about his child is the perfect thing for, you know what I mean? He's like, when I first met Blake, you know, there was nobody I loved more, but then once I saw that child and I looked into her eyes, he was like, I would use my wife as a human shield.
I could never love anything as much as I love you. I would say that to my wife, and then the second I looked in that baby's eyes, I knew in that exact moment that if we were ever under attack, I would use my wife as a human shield to protect that baby.
Even when you have the person you love most, but when you have children, it's like they are who you live for at that point, and they're the ones you love more than anything. So to see someone murder them, I can't blame him for killing that person. And the thing is, though, he had so much pain in his voice when talking to her, because he kept saying, you know, how much he loved her and how much she loved him, and she was begging for him to kill her at that point. But that's why he has so much guilt, is like, I ignored it. You know, she did this once before. She's the one who set the building on fire and tried to kill herself. And she was telling him, and he was ignoring it. He, you know, kept working, you know, drinking a bit, and he ignored all of her cries for help. And then eventually, you know, she had to do something to really get that cry for help, but it happened to be to murdering his children, which is insane. I think they did a really good job. I had spoke on it before because I was starting to touch, like, the second I saw the cigarettes thing, it was already clicking for me. I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, the way it's framed, because, you know, a lot of movies do this, especially when this is the concept. Like, Fight Club did this as well, when at the very beginning of the movie, you know what I mean, when showing a connection between the two people. They did the same thing here in this one to just get it off the bat that these two are connected. But after that fact, you know, like him like them together, you know, they did a lot of things to set up that he wasn't in his right mind. And the main thing, before the water glass thing, before any of that, or even before when they were talking to the nurses and I said, this guy's fucking teleporting everywhere, because that's what it looked like. Before all of those parts, it was the quickness of the cuts and the editing being so choppy is what was getting me off. And I compared it to writing shortly in a book. If in writing or something, right, in horror stories, let's say, when you get to a really intense part, or something you're trying to convey a very big amount of horror and just tension, you'll notice the sentences start getting shorter. The words they use start getting much more specific, and you care less about the setting of the story and you focus more on the emotion and the perspective of it. So writing smaller sentences, it starts feeling like the breath in your throat is getting cut off. And so that's the same thing in movies, you know, like to show, you know, complete disorientation, the cuts are just super quick. There's no more long cuts, nothing. It's just quick. And so when the movie was going on and the editing of it, because like I had said, like especially when he was talking to his wife and she was saying something and she turned, and then when it cut back she was like this, and then when it cut back again she was fully turned, and it was like the editing was so off, and that's what clued in. I was like, no movie does that, like in terms of genuine editing as a movie part. So it's intentional to the character, and that's when you click in that he's an unreliable narrator, that his perspective is skewed. And so once you get that part, it's hard to trust anything that's happening anymore, and that's the perfect case for what insanity is. And it even makes it better as a viewer. So once you get to the end and everything is divulged, right? The doctor is talking to him and telling him everything, and he's like, you're Andrew Latis, you know, Rachel, what was it, Osborne? Was that her last name? No, it was something, I don't remember. But Rachel something, that they were anagrams or whatever. You rearrange the letters and they spell out the actual names, which is insane, by the way. Such a cool touch that that's a thing. But when he's explaining all of that part, you genuinely feel like Andrew's character. You're like, I don't know which one's true. I'm like, is the entire lie I just lived the truth, or is what this guy is saying the truth? And you're like so shocked if you didn't see it coming, obviously, but or if you weren't paying attention fully, you may have not accepted it so easily. But if you were seeing, like, because there were so many things that were just inexplainable. Like again with the water, the lady asked for water and then she picked up the glass and she drank and there was nothing in her hand, and then she put an empty glass down. Don't know what that's about. And like homeboy was teleporting, and you know, like there were just errors in the way the movie was shown to us, but because we're watching it through a protagonist's eyes, we know why there's errors in the way we're watching the movie, obviously. But it's so well done, man. I can't believe Martin Scorsese. It makes so much sense, dude. I mean, Martin Scorsese is just top notch. He really is. And I mean, Leo again, giving the best. I mean, him and Leo together are pretty great. You know what I mean? Especially in like Wolf of Wall Street. So this was no exception. This was unreal. Another thing I was saying about when we were talking with how contrived everything felt, and then I related how the story about the 67, was it that? No, the lady with her milkman and delivery men, and I was like, and the other lady said the same thing. I was like, this feels like a story just being played out, like someone told them what to say. And in truth, it's because he's viewing his own story from his own eyes. Like that's the story he's created, right? Everybody has their roles to play. Nobody's really who they are. That was his story, but we were seeing it from another perspective, obviously. But I was saying that, and I was like, that reminds me of that. Like everything felt so contrived, and everything felt so planned. And I was like, this doesn't feel like real life. You know, when he asked, like I said, when he asked for the doctor, he's like, oh, the doctor's not here. It's like, I'm getting on the ferry. Oh, you're not gonna be able to get on the ferry. Then the storm happened, and then they were walking out. Then a huge hurricane hit to get them inside. Then the doors blew open. Then the officers always knew where they were. And it's like, every single thing that he thought was free will, that he thought he had the freedom to do, was not the case at all. You know, it was a whole Truman Show episode where it was just everything he thought that he was doing was of his own volition. Was not the case. He was being watched 24/7. Everything was being put into place. None of it was his own choice, really. Like, they just went along with everything. They allowed everything to happen. It wasn't really him doing it, you know, which is, I had felt that when everything just started. It felt like, because I said everything was so convenient, you know, like the things happening to stop him from doing what he wanted to do felt so convenient. And of course that's purposeful, obviously. But I just meant, again, if you're paying attention, they placed all the stepping stones for you to get to the conclusion. So it's really well done on the movie's part. You know what I love too is the ending. The ending where he was like, is it better to die a good man you know, or to live as an evil one, was it? It was something like that. But the dying good, like that line was so good, but the ending is exactly that. You know, he lied to the psychiatrist specifically so he would die because he couldn't live with his mistakes. He couldn't live with his life. So he, in his eyes, tried to die a good man, let's say, instead of live with what he's done. Which, like, oh, that line is so good. So poetically written. But I love how the ending portrays both of them. You're like, you could take it either or. You know what I mean? You could go with which one. Like, even at the end, like, posing the question, do you really think Andrew was insane? Or do you think what Teddy's story was real? You know, Teddy never killed his wife, was never mentally insane. You know, his children, he didn't have children. He really met Rachel, the real one, in the cave. Is everybody out to get him? You know, the surgeries going on in the lighthouse, was all that real? Or do you think Andrew is really insane and what the psychiatrists and the doctors were saying was real? I mean, personally, obviously, Andrew's fucking batshit. The whole Teddy shamble is not real. I think as well, like, even more, like I was talking with what Rachel had said about, like, once they declare you insane or once they say you're crazy, everything you say will be used against that craziness. You just continue to validate their point, you know, reasonable protests are denial, that whole spiel, you know, valid fears, paranoia. And, like, it's even better when you watch the movie again, because now that we get to the end and we declare that Andrew is insane, I imagine on Rewatch now, you're going to look at it and you're going to disregard everything he says, which is precisely what Rachel was talking about how everything that's reasonable, like, because we're going through the movie and we're viewing it through Andrew's eyes, or let's say Teddy's eyes. The part where he's insane, we're going to call Teddy. We're viewing it through Teddy's eyes. And as an audience member, you're watching Teddy say these things and you're like, these are valid criticism. These are valid claims. From what is presented to us, these are valid claims. But the second he became insane, all of a sudden, these are not valid claims anymore. Even though when we were going along the ride, they were valid to us with how the information was presented. But the second we found the conclusion, all of a sudden the claims are no longer valid. And everything he does throughout the movie will be further used as evidence to support the claim that he's insane. Which is precisely what Rachel and him were talking about in the cave, is that once you declare somebody insane, all of the evidences that were used that were valid, reasonable things to say are denial, valid fears, paranoia, and, like, once you watch the movie again, it'll make a lot of sense. Like when he was going to the doctor and he was noticing his accents, he was like, very close, but you pronounce the consonants just a little too hard, you're German, and you're like, when we were watching it, because he was in the war, he was the Nazis, we didn't trust the doctors, we didn't trust the psychiatrists, we didn't trust the institution. We were like, that's a valid fear to have, because we think these guys are evil and they're performing experiments, and he fought against the Nazis, so this is a valid fear to have. But the second we watch through this movie and we go back and we watch that scene again, it's going to appear as paranoia instead of a valid fear, which is just so beautifully written. Like, that's expert writing right there. And I mean, just beautiful. It also makes sense why I had said, like, when we were talking about the story and it being coached, like she was told what to say, it all makes sense at the end because they did literally coach everybody on what to say, because this whole film was a fucking role play. You know what I mean? Like, they were all coached on what to do and how to act. And especially at the beginning, and all the other parts, like when they first get there and I was like, yo, guards, fucking ease up. Like, why are y'all? And he was like, you guys are really on edge. You know, and I was like, did a prisoner escape or something? And it's like, yeah, because Teddy is the fucking insane prisoner. That's why they're all on edge. They had said he's the most violent patient they have. He is a U.S. war veteran and a U.S. Marshal. He's going to be skilled, intelligent, and violent. So of course they're fucking terrified of him. Because he could flip the switch at any moment and try and fuck one of them up. And they got to be prepared for that. So, like, and even when he was talking to the lady, you know, and she was like, afterwards, and like she seemed really nervous, like she was trying to remember. I was gonna say something while watching it, but I didn't really understand why she was acting that way, and now obviously I get it more. But it struck me as weird too, because like the way she was speaking and like breathing, her like breathing patterns, she started getting really short and like trembling a lot, and it makes sense now because she was trying to remember all the information they told her. She was trying to remember what they said about what not to say and what to say to him for him to get on the right track, for him to understand what's happening, to continue the role play. You know, these aren't, all these people, they're mental patients in this mental institution. They're not Leonardo DiCaprio. They're not fucking actors. They're here for a reason. So it's like, to remember all of these things is insanely difficult. So it makes more sense now why she was, you know, so difficult to remember all the information and why she looked so anxious while speaking to him. You know what I'd said too with Andrew's wife killing the children. And like, I had said that I understood where it came from, but it's not, he didn't even kill her out of anger or like hatred that his wife just murdered his children. He killed her because she asked him to. Like, that just happened to be the stepping stone he finally needed to understand what was going on. Because, like, she was suicidal before. She set the fucking apartment on fire, right? She set the building on fire to try and kill herself and everybody in it, right? And that was a cry for help at that point, and he ignored it. And so she obviously mentally deranged, so she couldn't just go seek a psychiatrist or something on her own volition, out of her own free will. He had to do it for her, but he just ignored those signs, and so she had to do something to wake him out of it, to help her. And it happened to be killing their children, and what she wanted as help was for her fucking death, is what she wanted. She wanted to die, because evidently life was torment for her. It was just nothing but pain. So, you know, like, him killing her, it wasn't even, like, he did it because she asked him to, you know what I mean? At the end there, she was asking, set me free, and they were both saying how much they loved each other, you know? So I don't even know if I would count that as, like, I mean, we know because we've seen the actual thing. I was gonna say, like, would I count that as first degree murder or something? I would count that as assisted suicide, you know? Fucking euthanasia his wife. But you can't prove that she said that, obviously. You would just have his word about it, so that wouldn't count for shit. But I mean, like, in terms of us seeing it, like, I don't think he murdered her. I think he straight up helped her. But also, like, at that point, who wouldn't create a fictitious scenario where you're still a US Marshal and you're the good guy in the story and your life isn't in shambles? Because, like, look what he went through. He came back to his children being dead, and then he shot his wife. Like, nobody comes back from that, you know what I mean? So I get it, man. I just got something else too, out of, like, kind of thinking like a duality thing, because I think something that was really present in this movie was fire. You know, there was a lot of fire in this movie. Besides the fire that she lit in the building, but, like, the matches, constantly lighting the cigarettes and stuff. And I think, and it's even funnier how at the beginning of the movie, he was terrified of water. Like, he was really seasick as well, but he was never scared of fire, which I feel like most people might be. Especially after having a traumatic event like your building burning down, you think he would be more scared of fire, but he wasn't at all. And so, like, symbolically speaking, like, they could represent stuff, like maybe fire represents his, not his guilt, but like his fantasy per se, because he's just so accepting of it. He's surrounded in it too, right? He carries the cigarettes with the matches with him everywhere, and like all the scenes and stuff. And especially when he's in the Ward C and he's fucking going down the rabbit hole of insanity, the fire is just all there with him constantly throughout the entire scene and stuff too. So I feel like it represents his fantasy almost. And then at the end they're like, he just no longer cares, not about the fire, but like even like when he's outside and all the hurricane, like the natural disasters, it's always water too. It was never just wind, it was always water. It was a hurricane, raining, the ocean. Like, it makes even more sense that he was surrounded by water, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like and his wife was soaking wet, obviously. Like, I feel like water, especially because we're talking about his wife here, right? His wife first tried to burn herself alive, and that's the memory in his head. Before we get to the end, the memory in his head is of her burning. Or even when he blew up the car and the fire just went straight through his wife and daughter, right? Like, the fire went straight through them. The fire didn't hurt anybody. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think fire is what is linked to his fantasy. And then because later, once he starts accepting the fact that what reality was, he killed his wife, his children are dead, his wife was wet and water, and, you know, his kids were in water. So I feel like water represents his reality or acceptance, you know, no longer living in the fantasy. You know, again, kind of not red pill, blue pill, but like, you know, fantasy versus reality, what he wanted to believe versus what actually was, what really happened versus what he wanted to happen. And again, I think it just speaks to how well written this fucking movie is. Oh, even too, so much when he was on the boat too, like he was splashing water in his face to like try and ease himself on the boat, which I guess doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe he's trying to splash himself with reality, if we're going with that whole fantasy reality idea, I suppose. But I feel like logically that doesn't work. But I guess, I mean, seasick is obviously very different from just water in the face, but you know what I mean. And you know, I think at the end too, because you know they said they fixed him 9 months ago and then he regressed. I think at the end, he didn't regress. I think he finally actually accepted what he did. He finally accepted reality. The only thing he couldn't accept was continuing to live with it, right? is it better to live as a monster or die a good man? And in his eyes, he wanted to die a good man. And I think he was a good man. And I think he did die a good man. Because like I said again, killing his wife wasn't a malicious act, even though she literally murdered his children. It wasn't a malicious act. She was begging for him to do it. So in his eyes, it was another like act of love. It was a service for his wife, who was begging her, or begging him to kill her. So I think he did die a good man. And I guess he just, in his heart, he felt like a monster. And I think even more so because of how the entire story he created, and this entire fantasy, and just the fictitious lie and the roleplay everyone went along with too. And he's looking at it now and he's like, you guys went through all of this for me. Like at the end there too, he says to the doctor, he's like, you were the only one that tried to help me. Like you really listened to me and tried to help me through this. You know, and you could see how thankful he is for that, but that's what genuinely snapped him out of it. That's what snapped him out of it. And like he said, he was like, if I can't convince them that you're okay, that you'll respond to treatment and you'll get better, then, you know, we have to take drastic measures. You have to die. And he's like, at that point, it's like, I don't want to live with what I've done anymore. I'd rather die with who I am currently. I don't want to go through this again. I don't want to put all of you through this again. Because look what everyone went through just to try and help him. 2 years, man. 2-year role play? You know what I mean? Like, god damn. That's... whew. Or 2-year patient. Role play was... but still, it wasn't like 2-year role play, but he was a 2-year patient, because 9 months he regressed or whatever. But like the fact that they went through with this just shows you genuinely how much they're trying to help people. And I think it's good because I'm really happy this movie portrayed them in such a positive light, because I feel like in most movies, people who are doctors or psychiatrists, and in terms of mental institutions, they're always viewed as these horrible people. And I think it really gives a bad name to real life psychiatrists and people who work at these mental institutions, because I imagine they are not all pieces of shit. I imagine most of them get into that field specifically to try and help people. Now that doesn't mean there aren't ones that are genuinely malicious and don't really care, but I think it's really bad to just generalize the whole lot. I don't think they're all like that. I think there are most of them that are genuinely kind and want to help people. So I'm glad that this movie really portrayed for who they are. They were actually trying to help. They went so far as to role play for this fucking guy in the most insane way possible. And that's just for one patient. You know what I mean? So like, you can imagine what else they do. You know what's even funnier too? He's in Ward C at the end. Remember when he was in the ward and we were looking at it and I was like, what is going on? People were naked and dirty and it looked horrifying and it was scary. You heard whispers. It looked like nobody had a bed. It was horrible. And then you look at the very end of the movie and he's in Ward C. They have a nice bed. There's sunlight coming from that like opening, right? The cell isn't super dirty. Everyone there looks okay. It's like all of a sudden you're like, I don't have this warped perspective anymore because we're not looking through Teddy's eyes. We're now Andrew. We're looking at reality for what it is. And so I just love how a lot of the bad things that were viewed in this movie were just from somebody with a warped perspective. But I think that's everything. I mean, I'm sure if I sit here longer, I could come up with more things to say about it, but from the point of it, this was a fantastic movie. It was very horrifying, a fantastic thriller, had so much tension, so well written, so well acted, the music was great, very good twists and turns, a lot of plot twists and such, but really well done so that you could see the hidden clues to get to the conclusion before you actually arrived at the conclusion. But a lot of great stuff, a really great movie, a sad, somber ending, but provided this level of closure where he finally accepts what reality is, and he can die a happy man, I guess, or a good man at this point. So I thought that was great. Full reaction on Patreon. I'll catch you guys later. Peace. Hey guys, thank you all for watching that recent video, and I just want to give a special shout out to Oko Kanutilla. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm really sorry if I'm not, but just want to give a special shout out to you. You've been subscribed to my tier 1 on Patreon for a while now, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for the support. Love you guys.